Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's forum on the benefits of using technology in education. Well, before we start, what is technology to us? Technology can be defined as a scientific knowledge, tools, or application for us to in studies and to improve our life and achieve some practical goals, especially in education. So, in short, technology seems like has improved the way we study, especially in STEM fields. With me today are three excellent STEM students who's going to share their experience with us. With me today, Tang, a great biology student, Aina, great chemistry student, and lastly, our top physics student, Debiena. Before we start our discussion today, let's do a quick poll together. How many of you use technology in your study? Wow, that's great. Alright, now let's start with our first panelist, Tang with our first patient of the day. Tang, how has technology changed the way you study?
Okay, thank you, Gideon, for the question. Okay, as a biology student, having this technology is vital to help my studies because as a biology student, we need a lot of something to need memorizing and to need more understanding. Because as a biology student, you need to learn how the body cell works or something that about plants, how these plants work. Having this technology, it's helped me a lot because having this AI like nowadays, it can create a 3D visual to help me to more understanding how this works. For example, in our body, we can know how our blood cell works, or in the plant, how this photosynthesis, how the plants or the leaf can absorb oxygen and release carbon dioxide. That's all for me. Thank you.
Well, I really agree with you that technology has helped us a lot in our education, especially in biology, which can help you to make a mock-up 3D models for you to study about the cells that you need to remember or memorize so that you can do much more better in your exams. Well, now, Debiena, I'm going to ask you, how does this technology has enhanced your studies?
Thank you for the question, Gideon. So, technology has enhanced my study as a physics student. We know that physics has complicated concept as to the topic quantum itself. So by that, technology that for like quantum computing for simulation really helps me a lot because it can deepen my understanding as it allows me to model my my imagination that's complicated in the STEM field. Other than that, AI tutors now can detect weak points and do problem solving, and this one can enhance my studies as it can manage my study time. Then I can now focus on my weak points and improve. That's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Debiena. Seems like technology has helped you to focus a lot on your physics studies and others. Well, now let's move on to Aina. Aina, in chemistry, how does technology support your study, especially in chemistry?
Well, talking about from the perspective of a chemistry student, I find chemistry involves a lot of practice questions, memorizations, and lab work. Now, a combination of all of these concepts or aspects can make chemistry to be quite intimidating. But now, with technology by my side, it's no longer as intimidating as it seems because one, it's much easier for students to find research and information about chemistry because as we know, chemistry can actually have a lot of complex concepts to understand. And aside from that, with technology by my side through applications like ResearchGate, Google Scholar, YouTube, and virtual labs. Now, all of these applications has actually helped me in deepening my understanding in a lot of the concepts. Because one, as proven in the Malaysian Online Journal of Teaching and Education, transdisciplinary role of technology in conceptual learning has actually helped with rich mental processes that actually help STEM students to deepen their understanding in this particular STEM field. So in my context, it's actually chemistry. And one, it's actually easier for me to understand those complex concepts because I'm able to visualize it through a lot of virtual experiments. So for me.
Well, thank you, Aina. Well, now let's move on to the next question. In this modern era, we all know that not all students have their access to expensive lab equipment or tuition classes. So, how does this technology can help them to bridge that gap so that they can have a better studies? What do you guys think about this? Let's start from you, Aina.
So for me, as we know, education has not been that accessible if we remember quickly to the olden days. But nowadays, technology has actually helped with the problem where education is much more accessible and not only is it easier for students to obtain, it is mostly free of charge. Now, I would like to talk about how students could actually obtain a lot of information easily while bridging the gap between students who can actually obtain education easily. So one way is actually technology can be accessed everywhere. This means that research or just updated research papers are easily obtained through technology and students will no longer be left out in education. Now, aside from that, labs are no longer needed when it comes to technology or just learning about chemistry in my context because virtual labs or Labster, these two applications, can actually provide students with the opportunity to do a lot of experiments without having to use expensive equipment like a spectrometer, which could actually be quite hard to obtain and use. So I find that technology has really helped a lot of students who are able to obtain these technology or just these knowledge when it comes to the olden days. So that's what I see when it comes to how technology helps bridging the gap. So from
How about you, Tang? How technology can bridge that gap?
Okay, for me, nowadays technologies, we have a lot of applications to help students to create visual labs. Just like Aina says, for example, they have a Labsters because nowadays Labster is a lot of students, especially for university students, they have used a lot of these apps because in the Labster, they have a lot of things they can do. They don't need to spend money to conduct any experiments physically. They can conduct experiments in their mobile phones or their computers or laptops. Yeah, that's all for me.
And how about you, Debiena? We would like to hear about your opinion too.
Besides virtual lab and application that Aina and Tang has mentioned just now, I want to add more that as we all students involved around smartphones, technologies like smartphone sensors can help students to improve and bridge that gap because they can now because smartphone sensors has sensors like accelerometers, gyroscope, and magnetometers. This can help me as a physics student to measure forces and magnetic field, something like that. And I think it is really helpful because it's just like turning a lab into a pocket size. Thank you.
Well, I really agree with the points that the three of you have gave, that this can help the students to bridge that gap so that they can have a better quality studies, so that they can have a better marks and get a higher education. Well, now let's ask you now. How about the students who live in the areas with limited internet access? How can they have an access to internet so that they can do their homework or do some research for the studies?
Okay, thank you. Okay, for the student have a limited access to internet, they can use a school access or the labs because for the school, they can use it for them freely because school is let students more comfortable for the studies. Because school is not only for students to come to school and study, and school also to let students to let them more comfortable or to let them more get information or let them more to let them help their studies by using this school access. For students that have a limit internet access, for them cannot access to conduct experiment in a lab store or in online, they can conduct experiment in school also. So that's all for me.
Well, I really agree with you, Tang, that school has prepared a lot of benefit for us, especially in this technology. For example, SMK Bandar Bintulu has prepared us a computer lab for us so that we can do some research and we can do our studies and we can make our study more comfortable because the facilities is enough for us as a student. Besides, we also have a lab with 3 different labs for each STEM subject. We have physics labs, chemistry, and biology labs for us to conduct our experiments to pursue our studies. Well, now, Debiena, do you think that online learning can replace traditional learning? And do you think online learning enough for students since your field is revolving around this technology? What do you think?
I don't think technology itself is enough because as a physics student, we need an hands-on activity because physics students, they need to experience those experiments themselves. They need to practice all the experiment by themselves. For example, studies like engineering or medicine need practical training so that they can manage their studies into their life. Other than that, digital fatigue like staring too much in the screen can reduce our deep focus because when we study, we always on our screen, so it cannot replace the traditional learning. That's okay.
Well, Aina, I'm going to ask you, is technology can improve access to research for you as a chemistry student?
Now, a big part of chemistry is actually research. So I do believe that technology has really helped me with obtaining research when it comes to really complex concepts. So I would like to give an example of one of the applications that I actually use is Google Scholar. Now, as we know, Google Scholar has actually helped with the process of finding specific research because I'm going to talk about how in the olden days that we might struggle when it comes to finding research because we have to find them alphabetically and numerically and according to each subject. But now, Google Scholar can literally help you with this process by shortening the process and just letting us search up whatever concept that we want to read about. And aside from that, the credibility of the research is actually protected because one, we're actually obtaining this research from the scholars themselves. We're actually obtaining and asking for the research from the scholars themselves. So the credibility of the research is actually protected and it's much more trusted because one, the information is correct, and secondly, it's usually gone through a process of verification and authorization. So I do believe that with technology, it has really helped with obtaining research that is accurate and is actually much easier when compared to the olden days. That's all for me.
Well, thank you, Aina. I also agree with you that access to research has been improved much more when technology has Google Scholar, where we can find a lot of information so that we can learn more and deep about the topic that we have to learn. Well, thank you to our panelists for a thoughtful insight. To our audience, we hope that you will learn some benefits about technology, the benefits that can be done in our education, so that we can improve our studies and pursue to the higher level. That's all from us. Thank you and have a great day.